Hey, I'm Scott and welcome to my channel. Today we're talking about this awesome little light, the Boling BL-P1. So I've gone ahead and thrown the light behind me just to, kind of show you what it can do. While we're here, we might as well, right? It's small, it stands on its own, and that's some of the biggest strengths this light has, and it's of course RGB, so this is a good way to show it off, I guess. Ignore it if it's a little bit distracting behind me while it's switching through the colors. I just want to show you the full range of what it can do in terms of its RGB capabilities. If you're curious, I have it set on 100% power right now in RGB mode, and it's just, a foot or so away from that white wall behind me. And as my key light, I'm using the 120D Mark II in the Light Dome Mark II on full 100% power. So if you want to see some kind of relation between the brightness of those lights, they have the key light, which the Light Dome itself is probably about arm's length away from me, and then you got that light back there. So that's how they kind of balance out in this type of setting. So there's been actually a lot of buzz about this light lately, and it's not only because of the high quality light that it can put out, because of course it's rated at a pretty high CRI, which most of the LED lights are on the market recently, to be fair. It's also not just because of its high quality, and it is built very, very well. It's made out of a high quality aviation aluminum that acts as heat dissipation, and there is also a 12-month warranty that comes with this. But it is also because of its obvious RGB capabilities as well as white light capabilities. It has a huge range in terms of Kelvin that you can adjust this on, and it stands by itself. It has a very unique little flexible swiveling arm thing built into it that lets you use it in very unique ways. Basically, this light for me is all about being portable, completely full featured, and just ready to go anywhere, anytime. It has a very long internal battery life of up to 140 minutes on full power, which is very impressive, and it recharges with USB-C, and it is quick charge 3.0 compatible. However, you can also use it while it's charging, so if you want to use it for a longer time, or if you just don't want to wait for it to charge again, you can do that. This also does come with a pretty nice quality little carry case, and it's not just a cheap add-on either. It's a very nice quality case. However, I don't honestly feel the need for it all that much. The light itself is built very, very well, and I don't think it's gonna have any problems with throwing this into a camera bag or even a outside pocket of the camera bag or your pocket of your jeans, for example. It's going to stand up to some wear and tear for sure, and I don't think that case is entirely necessary, but it is nice that they added it in here, and it doesn't feel like just an afterthought either. One little complaint about that case though is that it does not actually fit the charging cable or the extra cold shoe adapter inside of it with the light inside of it. The light fills up the body of that case completely, so you can't really add anything extra in there. And I think that if they added a little pocket on the outside, maybe just to tuck at least the charging cable into, that really would have expanded the use of the carry case a little bit more. But like I said, as of now, being able to only hold the light by itself and nothing extra, it doesn't really seem all that necessary. The little extension arm that does set this apart, physically speaking, from other LED lights on the market is also really, really awesome. Obviously, it lets you do things like set it down on a table or a desk without any additional accessories, and get it at whatever angle you may need. But also, if you're using it together with the cold shoe adapter, for example, you can get it on top of your camera, but then swing it out to be not perfectly, straight on, which is really nice. And you can get it at different angles that you can do with other on-camera LED lights, and that's just something that you can't do with, the typical little ball head that you usually get with these kind of small LEDs. Overall, it just opens this up for a huge amount of ways that you can mount this or stand this or even hang it from somewhere. You can just pretty much use it in any situation that you would want with absolutely no extra accessories, or at the very least, a very small amount of extra accessories like that cold shoe mount, which is also included. On top of that, you get a very simple and easy to use interface here. You get a few multi-function dials and buttons on here, not too many, but it's enough to take control of what you need to. And there's also a nice screen on the back that shows you a good amount of information like the battery life, the power level, and the color temperature or RGB settings. Add to all of that, you get a huge amount of versatility in what you can do with this. You get white light with a huge range of 2500 to 8500 Kelvin, plus full RGB control of hue, saturation, and intensity, plus some extra pre-programmed special effects. I did notice, however, that, and excuse me as I read my notes here just to make sure that I don't mess any of this up, at lower power level, like a 40% or 30% especially, it is more difficult to get that full 360 degrees range of RGB color. You'll end up seeing mostly just that red, green, and blue at varying intensities when you have that on lower power. When you get up to higher than 50 or 60% power, then those colors do mix together a bit better and give you this, full range that you're seeing behind me here. but just keep in mind that once you get down to lower intensities, that range is not going to cycle through the full 360 degrees of color quite so smoothly. Also, when you dial down that saturation to 0%, as you pull back the power, there is a definite green cast to the point where at the lowest power setting, it's basically just green light. So if you do want white light out of this, definitely use the dedicated white light mode. However, even at saturation settings of about like 50%, for example, at lower power settings, you're definitely going to see a heavier green cast. Basically, in RGB mode, if you keep your saturation above 50% and you keep your power settings also above 50%, that's going to give you the best results in the widest range of accurate RGB colors. This light also doesn't seem to have any issues with flicker at any power level or both in RGB or white light mode. I'll put some tests on screen now, but I did try to push this up to some higher frame rates and higher shutter speeds just to see if I could detect any problems, and in all of my testing, I didn't see anything that would cause an issue. Basically, it's going to be really hard to find any situation where this is not going to be the absolute perfect little accent light or, background light or even key light if you don't need something that's a bit more powerful or a bit larger. There is also kind of a frosted plastic covering the LEDs, a sort of semi-diffusion, but it's not enough to completely eliminate that multiple shadow effect that you can get from LED lights like this. So just be aware of that if you're going to be cutting the light. It's also pretty bright considering the fact that this is not only a bicolor light, but also a full RGB light, and it is pretty small. They claim about 1480 lux at 0.5 meters, but that probably doesn't mean anything to anybody, so I will show again some samples on screen now just to show you the brightness more in terms of camera settings. Also, there are a few little small details that maybe are easy to overlook, but for me really show that they put a lot of thought into this and how the end user would use it. And just small things like in the carry case, there's a little hidden pocket where you can hide the hex wrench. It just makes it really convenient to bring along with you. And just again, it shows that they were thinking of the end user. And again, that hex wrench is going to be if you want to adjust the tension of that little extending arm on the light itself. Mine doesn't feel like it needs any adjusting, but if you do, you have that hex wrench with you, which is really nice. Also, even on this little cold shoe mount, which is something that I think most manufacturers just kind of throw in as an afterthought, like, hey, you're gonna need to mount this somehow, so let's throw this in here. There's even a little rubber ring on the top here that's gonna help you, have that anti-twisting friction design, and that's just such a small little detail, but it really, really shows me that they put a lot of thought into this in every place that they possibly could. Final details, there's obviously no fan in here, it's very small. The light doesn't seem to get too hot, even at 100% power. It gets a little warm, but it's never been an issue in my experience at least. But there's no fan in here, so it's obviously completely silent. My only other, stupid small complaint is that the dial to adjust the power output is reversed from what I would think is maybe intuitive, whereas you dial it down to increase the power and up will decrease the power. It just seems like a weird reversed thing from what I would expect. Maybe they had a reason in that, so you don't accidentally just blind somebody by dialing it up very quickly. I don't know, but just it's very inconsequential. It doesn't mean anything, but it's just, my final little note on this light, which is otherwise an amazing light and something that I would strongly recommend for anybody who, does any kind of video, really. I mean, you could find a use for this in a huge range of applications, as an accent light, as a key light, as a background light. Whatever you need it to do, it pretty much can do it. So if you have any questions or comments, please be sure to leave those down below and I will do my best to get back to you. And if you like this video, leave a thumbs up, subscribe to see more in the future, and as always, thank you for watching.